Okay, guys, so we're going live. It's 10 p.m. here in Singapore. I'm with my guest host, Rob, as always. Thanks again, Rob, for coming on.
Thanks, mate. A pleasure. Always my favourite part of the week, this.
It's the highlight of the week for sure. So we also have joining us from across the pond. Here he is, the man himself, Michael Manavian.
Hey guys.
Where's your stack and tilt shirt?
Nick, I got the hat here, but you said this was going to be fancy. What happened? You said a fancy chat.
I've never seen you wear a bow tie or a suit.
I'm wearing a whole tuxedo. You said this was going to be fancy. I can't believe you guys showing up in t-shirts. How dare you?
Well, we're supporting the brand.
What's that?
We're just saying we're supporting the brand.
I know you're supporting the brand, but I mean, you said, "Hey, Mike, you fancy? I'm fancy." I can't believe.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
I even cut my own hair this week for you guys. How are you guys?
Hair looks good, man. Looks really
Thank
good.
you. I'm trying to get up to your coif. I think it was the proper term. Sorry, Rob. I got nothing for you there.
No, don't worry. That's a conversation I can't join in. Nick's hair is going to have its own Instagram page soon.
It should. Well, I can't thank you guys enough for thinking of me and having me on here.
Thanks for joining us, Michael, man. It's great to have you on. Unfortunately, we've not met in person yet, but obviously we've chatted online, so it's great to have you on. I already have a feeling that you'll be back at some point. We're already on episode 4 now. This is episode 4 in a row I think me and Rob have done. We're really enjoying it. We've had great support, and it's great to have guests like yourself to come on. We've already got some guests lined up in the next few weeks, so it's starting to prove pretty popular. So I'm sort of excited about what's to come. But more importantly, I'm excited about what you're going to share with us today, Michael. I know you're an expert in the golf swing. You're an expert on gears, which we're going to have a look at today. But before we start, I just thought we'd just get a bit of a background just to let the guys know here that are watching a little bit about yourself, how you got into golf, how you got into stack and tilt. Obviously, you're based in the States, but you've moved around a bit. Is that right?
Yeah, golf pro life here. You chase the sun, follow the sun, chase the sun. So, I started, I guess we go to the beginning. My family moved from the east end of town to the center of town, and there was a golf course in this 4 square mile town just outside of Boston, Mass. Yep. And Donald Ross's very first course in America was just up the street from me. It was this 5,600-yard golf course from the tips that overlooked Boston on a hill. It's absolutely beautiful, called Oakley Country Club. He designed that in the summers and Pinehurst in the winters because the Tufts family was involved in both. From there, I caddied from the age of 9 all throughout high school. Won the Francis Ouimet Scholarship, and that allowed me to go to Methodist College, earn my golf management degree. From there, I went headfirst into the golf industry, teaching at an indoor facility in Connecticut. My first week, I gave 121 lessons, half hour, and then my second week, I did 171 half-hour lessons. It was a machine. I mean, I got right into the industry, and we had some technology back then, which was unbelievable. It was this custom. The owner's partner was a computer engineer or a computer programmer, and using these 386 7 megahertz processors, not even Pentium yet. This is 386, not even 486 to 586, which is Pentium. He took the screen and turned it sideways, put this unbelievable graphics card in it, and it looked for a white ball in a certain area. So when the ball was there, you would hit it, and it was automatically programmed to replay back the last swing. And we had 3 cameras, caddy view, down the line, and overhead, and we had a lefty booth. It was super high tech. The dilemma was this. This was the place was founded in '94. I got there in '98, and then the overhead of the place was crazy, and it shut down in like '07, '08. But I was there for 2 years, 2.5 years. And it was unbelievable. So I earned my stripes teaching indoors, and I had a bit of a golfing machine background. I knew the imperative of the flat left wrist, lag pressure points. I knew the accumulator. So I could get really far with that bit of knowledge and get people better. And I had a little systematic way where people would come in and we'd book lessons, 6 lesson packages, and you went through it. the dilemma became very quickly that my students were getting really good, like, winning club championships, never playing golf, representing the state in team matches. I even got to work with a tour player when the Westchester tournament came around, and then 4 weeks later he wins on tour. It was a lot of fun. So it felt like a liability. So I went out to go play golf and saved some money up. Went down to Florida, played on the Teardrop Tour, and promptly lost every dollar I owned and realized, I don't hit this far enough. I don't hit this straight enough, and I need to do something about it. I have no idea of a predictable curve. So I went back to work after failing out of, miserably the first year I would go and play golf. And I was 128 pounds at the time. So I decided I hooked up with a former champion.
128 pounds?
Not stones, pounds. I was the size of a small, and I was fat at that size. So yeah.
Wow.
So I hooked up with a guy who had won Mr. America, Mr. Universe, Mr. USA, and 9 months later, I was 188 pounds, ready to go to Q school and get my golf game, in shape. And 9/11 happened, and I was living in New York, so that kind of crushed a few of the investors. Obviously, they weren't ready to invest, and I started working out a little bit more. Golf was on the side a little bit, but basically in the 2000s. I was asked to do a bodybuilding show, and I kind of said, okay, what does it take? All right, let's do it. And I wanted to do one show. 20 shows later in 4 years, I was nationally ranked and qualified and worked my way up in the national amateur ranks here. And I'm like, I just want to get back to golf. So indirectly, it's a longish story, but indirectly from that bodybuilding, I got into supplement nutrition sales and formulations, where I was now formulating products for supplement companies for golf. That got me back into golf in the Northeast in Connecticut again after a stint in Texas. And then one thing led to another, and I found a fitness facility that wanted to hire me for my blood work company, which is a totally different topic. And then they found out I was a golf pro, and they asked me if I would teach lessons. And I said, asked me what did I need? I needed gears. And I said, how much does it cost? And I told them, and they said, okay, what else? And I said, no, I'm good with that. If you can get me gears, I'll figure the rest out. And was there for
just explain to the guys quickly what gears is, because I imagine there's not many people on the show that are aware of what gears is or how it measures the swing. I know we're going to get into that a little bit later, but just give us a quick insight into gears if you can.
Sure. Gears is a three-dimensional motion capture device or software computer system. It's got 8 infrared cameras that capture the volume of the space, so that you can put a suit on that has buttons and nodules on it, or reflective markers that the cameras in infrared pick up. It's no different than how they make movies like War of the Worlds, Avatar, all these 3D CGI action video games and stuff. It's the same technology. So applying that to golf, you can measure everything to a hundredths of a degree and a hundredths of a millimeter. So it's the only device available currently that measures the club head, the club shaft, and the body all in one swing on every swing. And we'll get into it a little bit more deeply. But when I offered that this is what I needed, they got it for me. And then that facility was great for 4 years until the owners tanked it, and I moved to Florida because I didn't want to stay in the cold weather.
Fair enough.
So that brings us up to today.
So I'm interested. How did you swing the club after putting on 60 pounds or whatever it was in 9 months? How did that affect your golf swing?
It increased everything 13% across the board. So I couldn't carry it more than 245, 250. And then now I easily carry it 307 at the time. And I still can. So it was a significant jump. I had arrived to be able to hit. Now, I still didn't know where it was going to go. But I definitely had more speed. There was more Mikey to hit.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, I was told I was hypermobile as a kid and I couldn't put muscle on. They were wrong. Everybody said back in 2000, don't go work out. That's the worst thing you can do. And I'm like, I don't get this.
Yeah.
If I stay at 128 pounds, there's no way I'm going to hit this farther. Or far enough, because it wasn't far enough.
Yeah. The guys on tour they hit the ball such a long way now. But you would be up there, right? 307 carry. That's.
I can pull up my Arcos data. I hit it far enough. I mean, my club head speed on gears, which is a couple miles per hour slower than TrackMan and whatnot, but I'm somewhere 117 to 125. It's fast enough. TrackMan and FlightScope kind of say it's faster, but I go with the gears number.
I think the ball flies further in Florida, right?
Compared to
the rest of the world.
There's a lot of wind down here. There's a lot of wind down here, but
it's not as thin.
We've had like 12 straight days of rain and 10 inches on the ground. My golf course is closed. We can't even play right now.
Someone's put Robert De Niro. I think that's you, Michael. In the comments.
Sorry. I'm not seeing the comments. I'll put the chat up.
Oh, you have to be on. You've got to have the YouTube screen.
Oh, okay. I'll put that up on my phone.
Cool.
That's
Mike,
awesome,
was your training, your weight training and your bodybuilding, or your weight training at the time, was it specifically for your golf?
It was specifically to not create any unsymmetries. So I want to make a bigger, faster, stronger Mikey. It had nothing to do with golf. It had to do with the principles of anatomy. That we want to build everything up and develop everything up symmetrically, because my coach had a lot of practice with baseball players. He had trained the owners of the Mets, the New York Mets baseball team here, professional team, and one of their players was having a slump later in the season, and they kept training his upper body, swinging heavy bats, swinging only baseball swings with different types of implements. Never trained their legs. So he trained his legs, and that next year he became the MVP of the league. So there was a lot of knowledge base well beyond golf. I mean, the guy didn't know anything about golf. He just knew, you're small, we get you bigger, faster, stronger, and keep all your balances. Because, for example, your quadriceps have 4 muscles. So we need to build up all 4 of those. Your bicep has 2. We need to do 2 exercises for those, 3 for the triceps. Your chest has to work both in a press and a fly, and an incline press and an incline fly. So there was mathematically a concept or a systematic approach to this, where every body part had a certain amount of muscles that worked in a certain way. We need to hit all of those appropriately in order to create no imbalances. Because again, he's trying to go after a Greek mythical statue of David as the goal, or Hercules, something that has a small waist. Your neck, your arms, and your calves have to be the same size. Your chest is twice the size of your waist. Each quad is the size of your stomach. So there was proportions in the Vitruvian Man that we were working off of that he had done thousands of times. I mean, the guy was in his 50s. I mean, and he'd been training since he was 12. So he had won everything by the time he was 24 years old. So he wasn't guessing on how to build a champion. And then more importantly than the fitness part was, I did it for the mental training. Let's face it, I'm from Boston, and I was this little punk who thought I was great. Now and then you walk into this arena going, holy smokes, this is a little different here. And the mental attitude of do or die, literally do or die, because we had a group of 10 to 20 people training with us. And usually we train with 4 to 10 people, and we'd set up 10 machines. And, first round would be 25 sets on all of them. Second round would be 12 sets on all of them, 12 reps on all of them, add weight. The next one would be, 10 reps on all of them. And you have to keep going, make sure the guy behind you didn't lap you. Because if he lapped you, you're getting thrown out of the gym. I mean, it was intensity, insanity was the concept. And it was pretty, train beyond the pain, and death is your only release.
How about your diet? Did you change your diet?
Oh yeah, diet was very, very strict when I was contest prepping, and it was dieting was the hardest part. Eating enough to grow, because you need all that building material to build it. You can't just grow muscles out of thin air. You need a lot of food. So it was, I remember going into a job opportunity. I didn't want the job, but I went in as a favor to a friend, and the head pro had asked me, well, what do we need to do to work here? I go, well, I don't show up before 12 because I train in the morning. I eat every 2 hours. I don't want to answer any phones. And all I want to do is play golf with your members and teach. And she goes, when can you start? I'm like, who hires anybody for that? and I got hired. So
that's awesome. So how tall are you? Someone's put in the comments here, Michael.
I'm 5'5.5".
Wow.
On a good day.
So
I got wider. I didn't get taller.
So what sort of weight are you now then? Are you maintain that or?
No, I haven't. Off seasons being 198 pounds, in season being, contest shape. My first year I was 143 pounds as a bantamweight. Then I moved up to lightweight 155, then to welterweight 166. And then my last year was 176 on stage. And the next level of that would have required a ton of chemistry that I wasn't about to go down as a golf pro. Really, I wanted to get back to golf. This was just a hobby I kept doing. And, that next weight class, light heavyweight, is 198 pounds on stage, which means I have to compete against guys who are my size in the off season at 250. That isn't functional. I can't. That wouldn't have made sense.
Wow, I can't get my head around that. You put on that much weight in 9 months. That's incredible.
So I was eating 2 8-ounce beef patties, basically a pound of food, pound of protein, 2 cups of rice, 3 meals, a double protein shake, 3 meals, and then 2 fish meals at the end of the day with 2 cups of broccoli. So think about eating a 16-ounce steak at 8 a.m. and then at 10 a.m. you have to do it all over again. And then at noon you got to do it all over again.
Wow.
And then at 2 you got to do it all over again. And this keeps going every 2 hours, every day. And then, you got to wake up the next day and do it again. You get so fed up of chewing.
Wow.
So this is going in a completely different direction than we thought. So
yeah,
it's sort of boring everybody with non-golf talking.
Yeah, well, we've got some time. So obviously we've talked on the chat beforehand about gears. So I want to sort of get into that a little bit today. Now, a lot of the questions that get asked on these chats, a lot of them always end up talking about the driver. And it sort of led us to do some videos this week. And Rob posted a video in the middle of the week talking about stack and tilt with the driver. And I posted one yesterday or the day before talking about stack and tilt with the driver. So I know it's an opportunity. We've got you on here. I know you've got some data on gears, and I think it would be good to maybe just touch upon some stack and tilt driver using gears and going into some different measurements and just showing the guys here how it works and how we measure the swing, because I think that would be quite good to take a look at. If you've got any data on the driver, that would be great.
Yeah, just pulling it up here. I had Rob's stuff all set up here, so just give me a second and filibuster for a minute here while I pull it up.
How long have you been in the network?
I got in January of 13. It's been a few days.
Yumi's in the house. We got a Yumi on the. She's here, joined us from the West Coast.
Nice.
Yumi, so you can make it this time.
Hey, Wes.
I saw some of Wes's. That was brilliant, actually. Hi, Wes.
Right.
So you host Hammer Time, is that right, Michael?
Yeah, something to do in the quarantine. And then it started. We had a good day last week out here, so there was no rain, so I decided to skip a week. But it's been fun. It's been a lot of fun to do that and kind of fill some time up with that. Hammer Time's been fun. Wes was a great guest. I love having him. He's just such a good guy. So yeah, I've got one of Mike's swings here earlier. Now, I need to preface a couple of things here. This is one of Mike's swings, but the avatar was captured under a different software version, and there are some funny things that don't quite work here in the software. So you'll see the legs moving a little bit funky. but this is still Mike Bennett's swing.
Yeah, for those of you watching, Mike Bennett is one of the founders of Stack and Tilt, if you didn't know that. So it was Mike and Andy were the founders of Stack and Tilt. This is Mike Bennett, who's, in my opinion, has got one of the best golf swings. I've been fortunate enough to see him in real life, and yeah, he's incredible. I've never seen someone hit the ball so consistent, so straight, and
it's unbelievable.
Hit every shot in the book.
Yep. So when we look at Mike's swing, you look at his upper center and versus his lower center. We'll draw some of these lines here. So the center of the shoulders are over the center of the hips.
Yeah.
And down the line, that creates an angle or a tilt, and that tilt is the tilt of the ground. So we want to maintain that tilting that we set up at address throughout the whole swing. The only way to do that is to laterally flex your lead side to the towards your lead side in the backswing, and then towards your trail side in the follow through.
So his shoulder tilt there at P4, Michael, is 30. Is that right?
Well, it's 152.1. So it's
28. Is that 28?
That would be 28.
Yeah. So do you find those numbers differ for, say, like 7-iron compared to the driver?
Yeah, we can pull up a 7-iron. He came back in when I had the upgraded software. So this data is a little bit cleaner, or smoother rather. So here at P4 at the top of the backswing, he's 146.3. So that's at 34.
44. 34.
34. Yeah. So we at Golf Tech, we use that shoulder tilt number. It's sort of based around 36 as a tour average. So Mike's very close there to sort of where the tour average would be. I guess it also depends on where you start and your setup position. Obviously, someone that stands more upright might not tilt the shoulders as much in the backswing.
That's true. So we also have the rib cage numbers. So this is 35.2 of tilt. At address, he had 40.53.
So you seem to have a lot of data there, Michael.
We have everything. We've got so much we can pull up, and what I love about this software is how quickly I can improve a student, because people will look at this like, oh, it's overwhelming. There's so much data, but it's all in how it's presented, and for that, I was able to make a very good career for a while, teaching using the system and allowing myself to compress what would be 9 hours of golf instruction into 90 minutes, and without people feeling like they're being misled or overwhelmed with is the proper word. So I can go through how I give lessons as well if we want to go through that, but we're talking about Mike here for a moment.
Yeah.
At address, the two centers are lined up over each other. By the time he takes it to the top of the golf swing, you'll notice that these two centers are stacked on top of each other.
Yeah.
Now he has a 120-degree shoulder turn. This was a 7-iron.
Wow.
His axis is 0.3 past zero. So it's 89.7. Actually, he's 0.3 degrees in forward bend.
Yeah.
It's zero, negligible. He's not in 10 degrees of forward bend like Mrs. Haverkamp would be.
We just did a presentation, actually, Michael. Sorry to go off subject. Before this, I know you caught the end of it on Golf Tech, but the example of the guy I was teaching was 25 degrees forward, just to put that number out there.
So the extension piece, one of the reasons why I wanted gears was because I knew other people were getting the system, and we need to have somebody in the network have it. Now we have multiple people in the network that have access to a gear system, and it really validates, continues to validate Stack and Tilt. The only way you can maintain your axis or your head in the bubble, right? If we draw a head in a bubble here, the only way to keep that head in a bubble is to extend, tilt, and turn. So whatever Mike started with at address, he had to extend, tilt, and turn to get that three-dimensional component out of it. Now I can pull up Bryson DeChambeau. He does the same thing. We pull up Bryson next to, we'll just pull up Bryson here while we're talking. I've got his driver swing here. We can pull up. Now, we're not saying Bryson is coached by a stack and tilt instructor, but his he's stacked on top of each other, right? You can see here his shoulder sway and his center of his pelvis are stacked on top of each other.
Yeah.
And he's tilted to the ground, some level of degree. Let me just pull up a visual here. There are the body lines. He's tilted over to the ground 70 degrees. He started at 73.8, and he stands a lot more upright. But 3 degrees between friends at the top of the backswing is fine. And then when we look at it from the face on, not only has the center of the thorax, the center of the shoulder turn moved on top of the center of the pelvis, those numbers have also gone forward. So the shoulder sway number here by his right ankle, you'll see, says 2.4 inches. Bryson's center of his shoulders have moved closer to the target at the top of the backswing. His lower body has also gone closer to the target. Mike Bennett's center has also moved closer to the target. So there resemble no good player at the top of their backswing, especially in the start down, continues to move further away from the target.
Yeah.
The better the player, the more as they're turning, tilting, and extending, the center of the shoulder turn is moving towards the target. It's not moving away. If it does move away, there's this new thing called recentering, which to me is the obtuse thing. If you had a door hinge and you're opening and closing your door, right, would you ever want that hinge to recenter? Or would you just want to keep that thing centered the whole time? You're going to, well, you might be able to time it, but once in a while, you're going to take out a door jamb.
Unbelievable, isn't it? So we use the GolfTech sensors, and the numbers that we get are very similar. So I don't know how these sensors are measuring the sway towards a target there. In GolfTech, with the pelvis there, we're looking at around 3.9 inches moving towards a target. The sensor's placed on the back of your hips, on the sort of the belt.
So you'll see now I've got the markers set up here. So the white dots are where the markers went.
Yeah.
So we've got 4 sensors on Mike's belt. The avatar is scaled. So you'll see why that's why they're a little bit off the body. They make Mike Bennett look more svelte. So so there's his belt. The 4 on the bottom here. These 4 are on his belt.
Right.
And with it calculates the center of this pelvis. I know the GolfTech sensor has a marker on the belt that moves towards the target for good players, but this just captures the whole thing and then scales. So this isn't a sensor moving forward. This is the center of the pelvis moving forward.
Yeah, that's amazing.
And then we can look at that trace from overhead. And this is the lawn chair trace that we talk about. P1 setup, where the pelvis is yellow dot. Yeah. As he moves through space and time, his pelvis is extending and moving towards the target. And then it flexes down to P6, to the wrench application point. P7's at the same point, and then P8, P9, P10 as he extends out of it. So this looks like a lawn chair for somebody. And Bryson has a very similar trace. He stays very centered really cool. In his backswing. Very centered in his backswing, moves forward. P6, sets the wrench application. 6, there's 7, and then pushes up and out of it. So there's a lot of interesting data. You'll see Mike's upper axis as well. Stays pretty centered the whole time. Now, This one's a little bit more difficult to get in a perfect, pristine dot like you would want, right? From a face-on camera, Mike's swing stays in the bubble very nicely throughout. Right, his head doesn't really move a lot. However, just depending on where the segment is calculated to be in the neck, if it's one bit higher, it's like a compass, right? A geometry compass. If it's a little higher, the angle might be the same, but it gets wider and wider. The circle gets bigger. So I don't think it's at the right spot in gears. And we've talked back and forth and been very nice to organize that and kind of talk to me about trying to get it in the most ideal spot that we want. Right now, it's in a good spot. I don't mind it, but you've got to keep thinking, well, what is this measuring?
So can you go back to the driver swing, Michael?
For Bryson?
Well, if you start with Mike, sure. have you got any other tour players on there?
Yeah, I've got a lot.
How did you get all this data? Is that already uploaded on there, or
most of it I captured myself, and then the owner of Gears, Mike Neff, has sent me a few that he's captured. We've got Dustin Johnson, we've got Ricky Fowler, we've got Joanna Koch, Bryson.
Can we have a look at Dustin?
Sure. Here's Dustin Johnson.
I think some of the guys probably don't know this, but in the early days, I believe Dustin was working with Mike and Andy for a little while.
Yep. His first win on tour.
There you go. Facts.
Yep. First win on tour. There was a little problem with the calibration of his left hip, but it kind of, you'll see it pop in and out of place, but it gets back to at about 4.5.
So if you go back to P4, Michael.
Sure. So the center of his shoulder turn is now behind the pelvis from this angle. However, he's turned more than 90 degrees. So when the shoulders have turned 90 degrees,
yeah.
Let me put the lines up. So the shoulder turn at 90 degrees is right about there, 90.1. There it's 90. So that's a 90-degree shoulder turn from the face on camera. However, you can see that if we look at the lateral flexion, or the extension number, he's extended his spine 9.313 degrees. He's also extended his pelvis 1 degree, 0.99.
Yeah.
From the down the line view, he's side bending. He's side bent 42 degrees with his shoulders, and his pelvis is side bent 17. However,
so is that because of his height? Because he's a tall guy, right? He's going to side bend more, would you say, or not?
I really don't care what the number is, but yeah. he's got to bend the degree that's going to maintain this number or keep it very similar. So at address, he had 35 degrees of forward bend. At that moment, he was at what, 42? We said 40.
Yeah,
40 something. So a few degrees off, and that's why his head moves as a result. A few degrees, right? His head started there, and he's replacing it with side bend. And then
so that's why his head would drop down a little bit.
Correct. There's a why. That's the why. Now, Dustin Johnson doesn't have to give a single dollar that he's earned back. He can let his head drop down a little bit, but if you're coaching him, you got to make sure that thing gets back to the same spot every time it impacts.
Yeah.
He's able to maintain and reconcile these forces and these torques and the whole 9 yards. Sorry, I said torques. But he's got to reconcile all this 3D motion in order to find a pattern. And he does a very nice job of it.
I think if you just go back to P4 again, Michael, and just have a look at the extension there. Was he 9 degrees backward bend?
At P4, this is a great number here. The thorax is extended 21 degrees.
Wow.
Think about that for a second. If you have a laser, a flashlight, pointing off your chest here, this thing's 21 degrees extended towards the ceiling.
So that's what gives him that freedom for the left arm, right?
That's called reverse spine, isn't it?
I was going to say that was my next question. Isn't that reverse pivot?
No, reverse spine. There's some people call that reverse spine.
You guys really want me to start testing the YouTube sensors with those kind of questions. I can tell. I'm from Boston. We use a lot of foul language, so you start throwing that kind of stuff at me. I thought we were going to be fancy and prim and proper here. So if I pull up Mike Bennett or Bryson DeChambeau next to him, let's just pull up Bryson because he's right here. Bryson does the same thing. Well, not as much. right? So he's only 4 degrees in extension, or actually he's forward bend in this one, 4 degrees.
I wonder what he is now, because he's working on distance, and
he's a lot different now.
Yeah.
This was in 2017. I was talking with Chris Como at the show. He said he was going to send me a few swings, and I just haven't gotten them yet. But when those come back, we'll get those. But you'll see that his shoulder turn's also only 87 degrees, whereas rib cage turn is 87 degrees, where Dustin's is 113.
Wow. Mike, can we have a look at P7 and just look at some of that axis tilt, like
Sure.
the amount the hips are forward versus the shoulders? Because that was a theme I certainly tried to tackle this week in the driver video, because it's a question that comes up a lot. And I'm just curious to see how the gears data would quantify that.
Sure. So if we look at the axis tilt here, or what Morad would consider the secondary axis tilt, you'll see the center of the shoulder turn to the center of the pelvis is on an angle. This angle is greater than it was at address in both players. Anybody see that?
Yeah. It's also interesting, right? He's taking 4 degrees up, and look how far forward his handle is.
Oh, you can't do that either. We can add in the hand path, as well as these not the raw frames, but the pinwheels. The pinwheels are a good marker set to see where the low point of the handle is here, because the hand path line shows the middle of the grip, which I'm not a huge fan of the middle of the grip being a marker, but you'll see right about P6, you'll see this shaft. That's the low point, right where this where my cursor is.
Yeah.
P6. From this point on, the butt end of the club, which is being traced here, you'll see the handle moves upwards. It continues to move upward and upward and upward. However, it's also leaning forward. So those are some interesting dynamics that you pointed out. He's swinging 4.1 degrees up, and his handle is leaning forward 2.86 degrees, for a difference of 9.3 degree from address. He's leaning it 6 degrees back. To impact, he's leaning it 2 degrees forward.
Wow.
And if we want to get into
incredible.
It certainly is.
Do we have the height of the pelvis, like the amount it's raising from P1 to P7?
Sure, certainly. One second before you get to that, I want to highlight that the club head speed on this one was 121 miles per hour. At impact point, it was 122. The face loft was 9.76 degrees statically, but at impact, he brought that in at 11 degrees. So swinging 4 degrees up with a 11 degree presented loft, his spin loft was 6.8. If you're curious on how he hits it far. Also, shout out to Nick Clearwater from Golf Tech pointing out on one of his videos last few weeks why Dustin should be drawing every ball. He has all these beautiful alignments for a draw, and he just keeps trying to fade it because he's trying to not hook it. But that's a great one to go check out.
That was a great video. I enjoyed that.
Yeah, me too. So what was the question again? The elevation or the lift number you
want?
Yeah,
I'm just there was a lot of people on last week's show asking about the driver. And so we tried to talk about it this week in the video. And it was just that raising of the handle that you're talking about there. I mean, it's coming from different segments. It's coming from many different places. But the pushing up and the raising of the pelvis was one of the things that I talked about. And I'd just be curious to see that measurement, really.
So that number that we're looking for is lift. In terminology here. So there's the lift of the pelvis and the lift of the rib cage. So at address, they're both at 0. And at impact, the pelvis is lifted 0.7 inches and the rib cage is lifted 1.5 inches. Now, that will continue to extend. The hips will continue to extend. And by the time you get to the finish, is 1.5 with the rib cage and 0.74 with the pelvis. So it's moving up. It continues to stand up. He's not sitting down. So this is one of the numbers that I look at for poorer players is what's happening from P6 to 7, 7 to 8, 8 to 9. We can pull up a high handicap here, and you'll see a few things. And one of the pieces that I always look at is the right knee bend at 6. The right knee is 42.9 degrees at 6. At 7, it's 44. At 8, it's 46, which is typical for Dustin. He kind of sits down in it, and then he stands up a little bit at the end, and it's 36. So
yeah, I was going to say Dustin's pattern is actually one of being a little bit more inflection through that area than some might do it, and that's, I think, part of his attempt to start fading and swinging across it slightly.
Yeah, he saves inflection more to keep the handle going down and left. If we look at Bryson, his right knee at 6 was 15 degrees. At impact, it was 9 degrees. At P8, it was 9 degrees. And at the finish, well, it bends to 26 here, but it's, sorry. I think some bad markers there. Yeah, that's not 28 degrees bent.
Yeah, right knee flex is a big one, right? There's a big marker there for how much someone's going to move into flexion with the pelvis as well versus extension.
Agreed. Those graphs always tell a good story as to how much lift is happening. So if we look at Bryson's lift numbers, at impact, he was 0.5 with the pelvis, and the rib cage was pretty much 0, and then continues to stand up coming through. So at the finish, he's 0.9 with his rib cage. He's maintained his tilt, his inclination pretty well, and his pelvis has moved 0.6 inches forward. So Bryson at address, one thing you'll notice is that he's got much more than 50% of his weight on his front side. That pelvis line, this vertical center of pelvis line, is definitely hedging the front side of his body. Right, I would say the middle of his stance is about here. We can also see this from below.
Yeah.
He's definitely has his weight on his lead side. He's not on his back side at all.
So someone's put in the comments here, Michael, about Charlie Weed. Do you have his swing on there?
I don't, sadly. Billy Horschel, Davis. I don't have Davis. I got Jim McLean's swing. I got one of our best stack and tilt models. I'd say is James McHugh. He's a college junior at Penn State. He hits it so good with a driver. That's a bad calibration. Just pull up a random one here.
I think it'd be good to look at in a second, sort of a higher handicapper.
Oh, okay.
So in comparisons with James or whoever you think would be a good comparison, just to show you guys some movements that what you'd see in higher handicappers compared to what the tour players do.
Surely. Let me pull up an iron swing of James.
Michael, well, remember, mate, Dylan says hello. He messaged me the other day. I spoke to him.
Dylan Thu?
Yeah.
Oh, how is he?
He's good, man. He's good. He's been working hard. He's like through the last few months, he's been so busy. He's working at Kiowa.
He's such a good dude.
He's one of my best mates. He's a great
Oh,
lad.
I didn't know you guys were that tight. Okay. Very cool. All right. So
we went to college together a few years ago, so we sort of stay in touch.
Oh, okay. Where was that?
This was in the UK.
What was the name of the college?
It was Buckinghamshire College.
Okay.
Just outside of London.
Gotcha. So this is a typical club golfer that I would get to my facility in blue. And I think we've all seen this golfer.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, that's 90% of the people that we get to talk to on a daily basis.
Is that why he's
However,
sponsored by TaylorMade?
this is not. He's not sponsored by TaylorMade. What
I
was that?
I noticed all the other players had TaylorMade caps and shoes on.
Well, that's because he was a TaylorMade guy.
All right, okay.
TaylorMade. There are 3 logos that we can put on: Cobra Puma logo, TaylorMade logo, Nike logo, as well as gears. And it depends on what you selected when you chose the avatar. But they were obviously being, the TaylorMade guys chose TaylorMade.
Fair enough.
Here is James McHugh's swing, and it's a very standard golf swing. It's a very beautiful pattern. It doesn't take long to notice that he's a good player, especially when we put up this visual here of hand path. When those 3 hand path lines, the backswing, the downswing, the follow through, line up, it's a thing of beauty. He's just a wonderful player. He's never going to really hit it too far offline. He does just a beautiful job.
Is this with an iron, Michael?
It was a 7-iron, yeah. And I have a 7-iron here with our high handicap, and you can start seeing patterns changing. So from the target side, I would set these 2 up, and we just look at some differences at P9. From 7 to 9, you'll see that, the left elbow for the high handicapper is flexing more, a lot more.
Is that a result of his weight being back, or issues with low point, or could be?
That's a great point there, Nick. So if we look at face on, the question for the group here would be who would have the weight more forward? And then secondly, would that assist in keeping your arm straighter or more bent?
So yellow or gold? Is that gold?
Gold or yellow. James has his elbows right now are 20 and 15 degrees. If we add them up, that's 35. The blue golfer is 72 and 34. That adds up to 100. Wow. It was almost 100.
Yeah. Over 100. Over 100, yeah. Wow.
And because of the P system of the measurements, being able to say when the right arm is parallel to the ground, or the right humerus in this case is parallel to the ground, it's going to make his case worse, actually. 81 degrees to right humerus parallel to the ground. Right, that's the same time in the swing. One's elbows have flexed more with the weight further back.
Yeah,
that's the higher handicapper. It's not the lower handicapper. At the top of the backswing, one of them has more shoulder turn than the other. Right. So the shoulder turn for the high handicapper here was 79 degrees, where the low handicapper was 107. However, the high handicapper had more hip turn. Isn't that interesting?
Wow.
So that would scream to a fitness person, hang on, he needs mobility training. Hold that thought.
Exactly. Yeah.
Hold that thought, because that was swing 3. 4 was a bad capture. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, then and 10, and then he hit some drivers. We spoke, and then this was his very next swing, swing 19. Swing 19, I got him 105 degrees of shoulder turn. I want to point that out. He went from 73 degrees to 106.
That was a quick training program you put on.
So, you're starting to fire me up here a little bit when we start talking about fitness training. And we just spent the first 10 minutes talking about fitness. So this guy now has more shoulder turn. What did I do to create more shoulder turn? Right. Well, his previous swing, now we got to bring him up against himself. So let me just pull him up.
So I'm guessing you worked on the forward bend.
You can see it, right?
Yeah.
So if we put his first swing up here on the left, right? So the head is more forward, more towards the target. And if we look at this spine number here. He went from 105 to 96. So I got his
10 degrees,
chest
11
to
degrees.
point more to the sky.
Yeah.
Say that again?
Yeah, about 11 degrees difference.
Yep.
Oh, no.
And you're all about these measurements, huh?
Well, it's good to see, you know.
Absolutely.
This is great. I would struggle to know what to choose. There's so many options.
That frontal bend number I saw on the original swing is like 24 degrees with the torso. Frontal bend on the gold swing now.
So
like
frontal bend in the torso is 22.9.
Okay.
And I got him to negative 1.6 in one swing. Right, we're not done yet. That's just his first swing. Here's his second swing. Negative 7. We'll just keep going up the chain here.
So just explain to the guys how you did that, Michael. How did you go about changing that?
I'm sure it was magic. I'm sure I just guessed. I'm sure I just didn't have a system to use to kind of do this. Sorry. I'm firing me all up here. Let me move to a later swing here. Just find another one. All right, you can see there's less forward bend. So basically I told him, your head is moving off the ball. Let's put a rod across his right ear so that he moves away. He moves towards the target, not away from it. Conversely, you could also put one opposite his left shoulder scapula and feel like he's going forward. The old Brad Faxon image there of overextending.
Do you have like neck tilts, or does this measure neck tilt?
It does measure sight line. So here he is at the top of the backswing. A few swings later, he went from 79 degrees of shoulder turn to 109. I mean, that's pretty significant here. On his last swing. And this is just one player. I mean, and this was so long ago, I don't really remember what we did, but here's his last swing of the day. All right, he's got a fighting chance to not hurt his back.
Yeah.
One of the interesting metrics here that I'll bring up, he went from 21 degrees of forward bend at P4 to 2. All right, you got him to 91 degrees. That's a significant change. And he's got a fighting chance to hit a golf ball from there.
Very
now,
good,
mind
Mike.
you, this was just one lesson. Now, there were a few questions there that I totally forgot to address. What were they? We were going somewhere. We had James McHugh up here, and we kind of went on to this one.
Oh, it's just good to see different views, and I just wanted to look at a high handicapper against a tour player and just look at some differences.
Yep. We got John Rahm, by the way.
How would you help Rob Cheney?
That's a good question. So let me pull up that guy here. We have Connie Chen here as well, who I know is Singapore or.
She's in. I think she's China now, or maybe even back in the US. I can't remember.
Global traveler, that one. All right, so Rob Cheney. This was 2017.
PGA show.
Yep.
So they're the club head speeds on the left there, Mike, yeah?
Yes.
Okay. And this is 7.9?
Yeah, I think it was a 7.9.
Bear with me. Let me get this just right. We've got it's not working properly here. It's still stuck on the prior golfer. I think I need to restart this software for a second.
That's cool.
Let me just quit out of there and
So this was at the PGA show in 2017?
I believe so.
Yeah,
unless I was reading the wrong person's comments.
3.5 years ago. That's mad. It's crazy.
Well, I also have a video of you, which I didn't, that Darren Falk and I have of you doing a Geico commercial. Unbelievable, but we won't go there.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome. I'll save you on that one. So just give me a second. This thing will start back up. It takes a few minutes because it's a pretty graphics intense card. But
there's a couple of questions in the chat, Nick, from earlier. Someone wanted to know, Marcus wanted to know, he saw the episode, the driver questions. Did we answer the most important question? Who hits it the farthest, Nick or Rob?
Yeah.
It's definitely Nick.
Did you not have your club head speed in the video?
No, probably not, because it was probably about 104 or something, really pathetic. Yeah, if you want to see me put to shame, you want to watch the night golf on Nick's channel. That par 4, where I think I've driven the green and then you stand up and drive the green.
Yeah, so check out some of the course vlogs we've done. We've done a few recently. That was at Marina Bay playing night golf. I think that was the last time we played, actually, Rob, wasn't it?
Oh, mate, it feels like an eternity ago.
Yeah, that was sometime in March, I think. And I remember saying to you at the end of that vlog about when's the next time we're going to play, and we just didn't think it would be this long.
No.
That was such a fun looking venue to play golf at night.
Oh, it's a cool place, man.
Was it weird on your eyes? Like,
I actually preferred it. I think it's easier.
Yeah, during like the twilight, I found it awkward, like for one hole where it's just starting to get dark.
Yeah.
Yep.
But it wasn't sort of dark enough for the lights to take over. But once it got dark, it was brilliant.
Because it's underlit, right? Basically.
Yeah, and on the video when you're doing the course vlog, the ball track, you can kind of see the ball tracking in the sky, which is pretty cool. You wouldn't see during the day. So I think it's pretty good. So
here's Rob's first swing, and you can see the sight line Rob has. His foveal vestibular ocular view is locked in.
Yeah.
Beautifully. He's got a beautiful pattern through it. When we look at it from face on, I like to highlight the rib cage, the pelvis and the shoulder sways. So at P1, you've got, a few degrees of side bend, 4.5. As he takes it from 1 to 4, his pelvis moves forward, his shoulders move forward minimally, 0.4 with the shoulder sway, 1.3 with the pelvis. You're not moving backwards. You're ensuring a forward low point. You're not going to be backing up through this thing.
Centered.
Centered, yeah. Spelled correctly. There's another Martin Park joke. And, you look at the swing, well, what am I going to say to this guy? He already knows what he's doing. But because we have a system, we can look at P9 here. We can say, well, at P9, he's got 78 degrees of turn in his shoulders from the face on camera. We like that to be 90 at that point to match up. Now, knowing that, here's how you can learn 3D and 2D. If I go down the line, I would say that handle is now higher than it was on the downstroke. So you can see that the path of the shaft is gone outward. And that might cause a better player problem of overdraws. Now, I don't know if you overdraw a ball, Rob.
Yeah,
but
pull draw is the bad one for sure.
Right. So I wouldn't expect this guy to be a high handicapper wiping across with the elbow flexion like we saw in the previous guy. It just wouldn't match. It wouldn't make sense for me to see that. So I think there's a little bit of a laggy trail shoulder. It's not coming around, but it's also going out as a result. And you can see that here in the gray hand path as it rises. So this was swing 2. Swing 3, swing 4, we talked. Swing 5, we did a drill. And then swing 6, you jump from 80 miles per hour to 93 miles per hour.
Wow.
Now if
that
that's not
it's not Rob, surely.
So now you can see.
Unless he gave him a driver.
No, this was Rob. Busting his chops there, I think. So if we look at nothing else but hand path, something tidied up here. The downstroke, the backstroke, and the follow through are much closer together than the other one.
That's awesome.
Now, what would happen if we look at this at P9 and just lay these two babies right over each other, right? We would see, wow, his shoulder turn is now 94 degrees versus 78.
Wow.
So down the line, the exit's a little bit lower, meaning the path is, he's swinging straighter into the ball.
Yeah.
And his exit's now more on track with his shoulders versus above his shoulders. You can see the butt end of the club was on the line here. Now the butt end of the club's under the line. So he's tracing an arc in 3D, and I'm just going to kind of go fancy here for a second because I'm wearing the tuxedo. And you can see it from here. This is such a good view of the plane of the arc. You can see the follow through was higher in the gold and lower in the blue.
Wow.
And when the path goes too far to the right, you'll start getting overdraw. So what were the club face numbers to this? So the first one was a closed face to path of 0.55. So it was just a small draw. It was almost 6 degrees into out. And the face was 5.2 degrees open. So the first one was a
push.
Big push, kind of curved back a little bit. And the next one was almost a 50% face to path relationship. It went right to the target. So the path didn't change but a hundredth of a degree, which will count as the same. But the face was now 2.9, almost 3 degrees open, 2.97. So that was a pretty much on target shot. And it was also 13 miles per hour faster because his shoulder now, his trail shoulder, was more aggressively going through the ball, keeping the handle lower through the shot, not letting it rise up and twist the face.
So what was that, the 90-90 drill that you worked on?
Yeah. Actually, I just put the shaft on the lead shoulder, and all these extra stuff kind of happened nicely.
Nice.
It was good. It was really good. Tilts are better as well, I think.
Yep. Look at the face angle differences. Right. How much more the face is open.
Open, yeah. Yeah.
Mary Poppins. More umbrella. More retraction. The depth of the butt end of the club at this point. The depth of the butt end of the club, how far away from the target line it is.
Yeah.
Great. That's beautiful. So more power in the horizontal plane, more distance in the horizontal plane.
Yeah.
That was very cool lesson, Mike. I enjoyed it.
And well, I did too, and it was quick. It took one swing. Yeah. It took you more to warm up than me to explain it. And also, you're an expert golfer, so one swing it happened. But did it stick? Let's take a look at the next swing. You swung 99 miles per hour with this one.
Well, that's got to be a driver, Rob, surely.
See, Nick can't believe things like this,
I can't know.
And notice how it was even lower with the exit.
Look at that hand path, Nick.
It was more you got on the large plane. And then we did a couple of drills. Then we did a couple of drills back at 77 miles per hour, 75 miles per hour, just to keep working it slowly, punching shots. You're not really taking full swings on these here.
And all these shots were you hit into out and they ball drew?
I can't remember. We were hitting into a net, so I don't know. Yeah. But they felt great. Contact was solid.
So I think a lot of people seeing that picture and the exit there, they would assume that you were swinging across the ball, right?
Yeah. The club path on that last one's 1 degree into out.
Yes.
Nice.
And I think we ended with one to make sure you weren't over curving it. So we asked you to keep the handle even lower, the face more back to the camera from the down the line.
Yeah, it's a good practice for me. It's always been my Achilles heel. So it's always a good one to be reminded of. It's always feels better when I do that.
Is William Reichart a friend?
Not familiar with William.
I don't know him either, so I'll be kinder and gentler. I don't care about pressure, and here's why. Pressure is a resultant force. right? It's not a causing force, it's the effect. You have an equation where you got cause and effect. I'm always going to deal with the cause. I know that if my pelvis is forward, right, I'm going to be pushing to the right. However, my goal is to put the pelvis forward. It's not to push right. Right? I don't care the resultant of putting my weight forward. Because if you start talking about pressure, what's the difference between putting your weight on your trail foot, like our high handicap golfer? You know what? I don't want to bring that bad swing again, but the golfer with the pressure, the weight way to the right, the pressure mat reading would have all the pressure on the right side. However, Rob at the top of the backswing, by straightening his right leg out from P1 to P4, the force is going away from his right hip, down his leg into the ground. He's straightening that leg, right? But his pelvis is moving forward as a result. I care about having his mind have the pelvis be forward, straightening the right leg, and I don't care where the pressure reading is, because the pressure reading, not only is it the effect, but most of these people have the ground force reaction arrows going in the wrong direction. They have them reversed, meaning if my force is going down my right leg, down his right, let me draw on the screen here to just really hammer this point home. And I don't fault you. I'm just a real jerk when it comes to this kind of stuff, William. So you just happen to be the mouthpiece that I have to go off on. So if my right leg or Rob's right leg is going in this direction, the ground reaction force is going in this direction. Yet his pelvis is going in a third direction. So I would rather tell Rob, put your weight on your front foot and leave it at that, and straighten and change his knee flex. However, the effect of that straightening the right leg is the green arrow. Yet the people will tell you the effect of the green arrow is the reaction from the ground, which is the red arrow. So not only are we not dealing with the effect, we're dealing with the calculation of the effect and what that effect's calculation has in the next calculation of the ground reaction force, which is the effect of the effect. The reaction force is just that. It's the reaction. I mean, this is a Who's on First Laurel and Hardy script. You create the force. The ground has a reaction force that can be measured. But I don't care about that. I just want you to straighten your leg. Now, if I hate pressure traces, pressure mats, ground force reactions, 3D force plates, all of that stuff that's measuring the reaction of something, you can put that in the bin. I think that's the proper term. We call it the dumpster or the waste basket.
Trash can, garbage can.
Trash.
So you can all put that aside, because I want to know, where is Rob's pelvis here in all this? Right? If I care about this graph here or number, so where is the pelvis? The pelvis sway, as well as
it goes back to how we measure at Golf Tech as well, Michael. We measure the pelvis, the hips, and the sway in the backswing. Rather, we don't measure the pressure or the weight. I think also when you swing a golf club, right, when you're in your backswing, your arms and the club are going to have some weight in them. So
completely.
So that's going to affect the pressure reading, right?
I have a huge thing on that, and I don't want to get too far into it, but the mass of the arms, the mass of the club have weight to them. So as I straighten my right leg and I push my pelvis forward, like Rob does here so beautifully, his pelvic trace is beautiful, right? At the top of his backswing, his pelvis has moved 1.4 inches towards the target. That meant his right knee, which started at 19 degrees. His left knee started at 19 degrees too. By the time he took it to the top of the backswing, his right knee is 16 degrees. So he's lost 3 degrees of flex here from 1 to 4, with a maximum at 12, 11. There's your maximum. Did you get to 10? No. Yeah. There's the maximum straightening of the trail leg just before P4. 3 and change. You can drive a bus through his knee gap there. Well done. Maybe not a double decker, but you are tall. So changing the knee flex is putting pressure in the trail side. Big whoop-de-doo. The pelvis is going forward. That's all I care about.
Me too. That's so good, man. I love to see that.
I mean, seriously, if we're playing basketball, or a broad jumper, are you gonna say, okay, Nick, I want you to really have this ground reaction force spike? No. Hey, jump from here to there. Hop on the box. That's what we're gonna say. Move your ass. Hop on the box. Move your pelvis from here to there. Right. The effect of your intention to do that is going to create the chemical reaction in your brain to send it through the nervous system to the muscles to get all the proteins to clench together and create this contraction. Okay, and the hamstrings are going to pull, the quads are going to extend, all the system's going to happen. It's going to go from A to B. You're going to do that jump. You're not going to try to put pressure into the ground. They're teaching this. Pressure into the ground so that the ground reaction force can spike in a different direction that's not logical to you, that you don't think that way. I don't think in ground reaction forces. I think in what I do, right? Think about it. If Mike Tyson is about to hit somebody, do you think he cares about the reaction of that force? Think about that. He's going to whack this guy, and yet the graph is going to be pointing back this way? You telling me it's pointing that way into somebody's jaw. That's the force.
Awesome. Absolutely love
William,
it.
you set something off of me. I'm sorry.
Thanks for that, William. That was a great comment. Just guys, just want to go through some of these comments quickly.
Yeah.
So Jimmy's asking if you have Hawaiian beach shorts on.
I do not. I actually did wear the pants to this. I did wear the.
Oh yeah, you wore the pants.
You did wear the tuxedo pants.
Oh, I love it.
But that would have been classic. That would have been classic, Jimmy.
Mike Prober, how does Charlie Wee compare to Mike?
Charlie's pretty damn strong. I don't have his 3D information. Charlie's got a slightly different pattern, I think. I prefer, if we're going off preferences, I prefer Charlie's P4. Mike has a little bit of a lift from 3.5 to 4, and he brings it back to 4.5. There's a little raising. Charlie's a little bit more around himself, more on the arc, longer. Those very, very minuscule. And then the front side of the arc, Charlie's a little bit more on the plane line.
Yeah.
But I mean, we're not talking much. They're both damn good.
Marcus, how do I find the forward bend at setup to match the tour average of 36 degrees of tilt at P4? So I'd say that, Marcus, that is a tour average, and certain players would be more or less. And I think it does have a little bit of effect on the height of the person. I know when we've measured the sensors in Golf Tech, Rob's tilt tends to be a little bit higher than mine, potentially because of his height. I would say that you need to do it enough to keep your head and keep your inclination to the ground stable. It'd be my answer. Head against the wall drill is quite a good one, just to try and keep the head still. I think that's the most important thing. You want to turn your shoulders at 90 degrees roughly to your spine angle, if you like, is what I'd say.
Yeah.
Go on, Mike.
It's not usual for me to not have to add anything. You guys are experts.
Thanks, guys. Well, Michael, it's been great having you on, man.
Is that it?
Huh?
Is that it?
It's 11:15 here in Singapore.
I got all dressed up for an hour?
Well, I want the viewers to want more of you. That's what I want.
Ah, yes. Well, next time we're not wearing a suit, because I thought this was a fancy get-up.
Fancy. Oh, I can't wait to have you on again, because I want to see what you're going to wear next time.
Oh, boy. This isn't going to be a thing. I'm going to be wearing Puma clothing, I'm sure.
Okay. I like your setup in the background with the Cobra bag and the hat. You copied me there, that.
You got it, man. We're built to tilt.
We're built to tilt, man. Yeah, it's been absolutely awesome having you on, and having a look at the gear stuff. It's been great. Rob, thanks again, mate, for joining in.
Perfect. Love it. It's all good, man. It's learning every week from the main man, Mr. Double M.
You guys are awesome. I can't thank you enough for having me on, Nick. Watching your career on YouTube has been just a thrill to see, from that outdoor shed type of structure on that range to the video vlogs from camp, which I was so upset that when the 2 camps I went to, you weren't there at either of them.
I know, me too.
I was hoping I didn't scare you off, but no. But I've met Rob a bunch of times. I hope we do have news that the new camp in Aventura down here in Miami is coming up in July.
Yeah.
Can't wait for that. I was speaking with Andy about it a couple of days ago. You know, this whole pandemic nonsense, it's crazy.
It's crazy what's happening in the States right now, right?
I mean, right now everything's a little crazy here in the States with everything in the world. But you know, I have a mobile gear setup where I can go to different country clubs and set up for 3, 4, 5 days and do some lessons, do some club fitting, because there's a whole other aspect of club fitting on gears that you know, that I was one of the first. I was the first one to actually use for a full club fitting system where we can get that kind of precision at impact with the deflection and the droop and the digital eye angles at impact.
Yeah.
It's pretty special stuff. Maybe we can talk about that next time.
Yeah, well, I'm definitely want to have you on again, mate, because there's a lot to talk about, and great character to have on. Love the outfit.
Rob's laughing because he's like, yeah, Mike's got a big mouth.
Well, it's been great. I love speaking to you. The times we've hung out together have been a lot of fun in person, and this has been great. I think it's a really good insight for people joining the show to see the level of detail that gears can offer, and when you've got an expert teacher with a sound system who's able to utilize it, I think it's incredibly powerful tool. And I think, you know, to speak of our system, it's about being able to quantify, measure, and to, you know, prove that this is really what people are doing. And we've been saying it for years, and you can prove it. I mean, that's powerful stuff.
It's pretty amazing. I mean, I bought 2 gears machines myself because, and I'm actually looking for a third one now, because everybody can get one of these machines, and you guys working on 3D every day know it's not the numbers that matter. It's knowing what the numbers mean and what they should mean. I mean, Andy and Mike figured this out with a protractor and magazine clippings, right? They knew what the numbers were. I've zoomed into different parts of the swing showing P6, not knowing it was P6, and goes, no, the hip's that far forward, of course it's going to be P6, and it's going to be this many degrees. And I'm like, wow. I mean, he's sharp. But knowing what the numbers should mean, having expert instructors like you, Singapore doesn't know how lucky they are to have you guys, because, I mean, you guys should be in the States teaching the richest people in the world, or I don't know what the Singapore dollar amount is, but that's just a capitalist in me. Dressed like the guy from Monopoly. Yeah, this is perfect. All right. I should probably stop there since we're a global show. But guys, I can't thank you. You guys are awesome. Miss you guys. Look forward to seeing you guys in the future.
Yeah, I'd love to be at one of the camps in the near future, but obviously we'll see with this traveling situation.
Yeah, I had 6 locations set up a month after the PGA show, ready to, you know, set a summer schedule, go to New York for a couple, go to Reno, go to Dallas, go see Dennis Sales, who just got a gears machine. So yeah, and we're just sitting here in our apartment in Florida.